Welcome, friends. Good evening, and thank you guys so much for tuning in to our next episode of the Modifier right here at Proficiency Bonus. My name is Michael, your most humble and merciful dungeon master for this evening, and I just wanted to say thanks again for tuning in. And it's so cool to be back with another episode of this cool program where we basically see things from maybe the dungeon master or game master's perspective when it comes to Dungeons and Dragons and developing new things or getting creative with your whether it's changing up monsters or doing different things in your storyline. It's just kind of a safe place where we can all get together and kind of bounce ideas, and also to just get creative with our Dungeons & Dragons formatting and RPG formatting. So the first thing that I wanted to let you guys know is I'm super excited because all of my players, I think I might have said this on a previous episode, but all of my players on Friday night, they pitched in and they surprised me for my birthday this year. And they got me these Wormwood Gaming gift cards, these gift certificates. And the gift certificates themselves were awesome and impressive. They came in these nice wax sealed envelopes, and they were actually made from wood whenever they arrived. So I was worried. I didn't even want to spend them because I was like, these are awesome in their own right. But anyway, so I've been eyeing up this dice tray on Wormwood Gaming for, my goodness, probably a year and a half in the making. And it's just, Wormwood is a very high quality brand, and they're kind of expensive, and I just didn't have the extra funds just lying about to go ahead and just bite the bullet and go ahead and pay for it. So they went in and they got me these gift cards for Wormwood, and I went ahead and I got this beauty in the mail. There it is, Wormwood, and they always come in these nice boxes with the logo on the front. And I went ahead and I got the Zebra Wood dice tray from Wormwood Gaming, and look at this thing. I mean, it is fantastic. We are not, and I'm doing a disclaimer, we are by no means sponsored by Wormwood or have any kind of business engagement with Wormwood Gaming, but man, the quality of this stuff is just beyond belief. You can see that the logo is on the edge there, and this is zebra wood, so it's got these really cool dark stripes all throughout the wood finish. It has these little rubber stops on the bottom for set it down level on the table, and this beautiful rolling surface right here. They even got wormwood kind of in the part where you put your dice right there for storage. Amazing dice tray. So if you get a chance and you got the money to put into it, I highly recommend it. This stuff is top-notch quality, so huge shout out Wormwood Gaming for producing these quality gaming resources for people like us to be able to enjoy. I can't wait to roll on Friday nights. We roll digital dice, but I can't wait to take this to my next gaming group. On Sunday afternoons, I have a gaming group that meets at the gaming store and roll some dice in this bad boy. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna put that dice tray back in the box after I did my big spiel and pitch on Wormwood Gaming, which is amazing. And I could go on and on about how amazing Wormwood Gaming is. A couple things I wanted to throw out announcement-wise really quick is Mystic Hour, which is on air tonight at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 Pacific. Will be a vodcast tonight. Christy is actually out of town, so she is unable to stream her show tonight. But it will be a vodcast of last week's show. And on last week's show, we had a guest named Breeze, who's actually a craftswoman from Wormwood Gaming. So if you had any curiosities about what it might be like to work for Wormwood, or just some different kind of ideas, this is the second episode that they did of women in D&D, and it focuses on the women playing Dungeons and Dragons and that whole just that whole aspect of the game that is something that's just amazing. So make sure you guys check out that vodcast, 8:30 tonight, 5:30 Pacific. It's going to be coming on right after this show. Also, I wanted to go ahead and share with you guys. Well, don't forget, we've got Storm King's Thunder, episode 45, tomorrow night, starting at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 8 p.m. Eastern Time. As we have Storm King's Thunder coming up. And last time that we were together on the Modifier, we were discussing how to build a dynamic encounter. And the two things that we primarily focused on was using what we have or what the players know about. A second thing, tip that we had was use the environment and things that were around. And there was some concern last week with a few members in chat that the encounter that we were modifying was too hard. And I said, well, I'll play it by ear on Sunday, and whenever we get to play this with the gaming group, I'll let you guys know how it went. Well, it turns out I decided to take one of the O-Rogs out instead of putting 2 in for the orcs. I only put 1 in just to kind of get a sense that there was another entity or a stronger orc that was kind of like a bodyguard, the war chief for this encounter. If you guys recall, my party was coming back to Nightstone. It was basically taken over by the orcs, and the orc war chief was in the Nandar Keep, which was the main defensive position in the village. So they were storming through, and they were building up this encounter. And I was trying to think of ways that I could make it more interesting, more dynamic, and also maybe a little bit tougher for them, because I've got a party of 8, and they've been ripping through my encounters quite easily. They actually, even though we were worried this was too hard, they actually did a great job. They were able to take care of business with a lot of the minions of the war chief before he got to use his ability to kind of sick his minions on people. It's kind of like his battle cry. He has an ability where he can allow those that can hear him within 30 feet to basically charge the players and get a free attack on his turn, which is a really cool ability. But you can only use it once, so I had to be careful about how I did that. They took care of a lot of the minions, and because of the Warlock's Armor of Agathis, which he casts at 3rd level going into the battle, every time the O-Rog hit him, it did 15 points of damage to the O-Rog himself. So the O-Rog only lasted maybe 2 or 3 rounds max. And by the time my party got to the war chief, he was pretty much all by himself. Their goblin friend that was hanging out with them, the little minion goblin that came, that they've kind of recruited from the hideout, he was decapitated during the battle. And the bard, who only has 14 hit points, went unconscious. The war chief did score 2 critical hits against the fighter, but it still wasn't enough to bring him down. And the party ended up surrounding the war chief, and the war chief, having no one else around, fought himself to the death. And so it really wasn't an incredible challenge for the players. I probably could have gotten away with leaving that other O-Rog in there. The orcs didn't get a chance to use too many of their traps just because of how quickly everything moved. By the time it got to their next initiative, there were already people like too far into place in different placements, and they didn't get to use their actions to do certain things. So the traps, although would have been really, really cool, they didn't get to pan out as much as I thought. The ranger did get covered in, had flasks of oil thrown down as he was coming up the steps, and did get doused in oil. But by the time the next action came around, they didn't have a chance to actually throw a torch on him and actually ignite him. So though he was covered in oil, he didn't actually take the full effect, the full brunt of the attack, and which wouldn't have really done a whole lot of damage because he would have been able to put himself out of being on fire. But that would have taken his action and kind of set him off to the side of combat for a turn or two, which was part of the intent, you know, having the player have to decide, hey, do I want to stay on fire and keep taking a d6 fire damage every turn and still have my attack, or do I want to go ahead and spend my action to put the fire out and then do something? So it was really just me trying to take a way to take advantage of that action economy, so to speak. So I'm hoping the stream's going okay. For some reason, the internet is being strange tonight, and unfortunately, sorry guys, I'm getting a lot of drop frames in OBS, so I'm hoping that things are going okay and things aren't too glitchy or skittish on Twitch right now. But we're going to go ahead and dive into more exciting creative stuff. As last time that or 2 episodes ago, we did an episode called Reskinning the Undead, where we created a frost skeleton. And I'm going to go ahead and take you guys to our full screen mode here, so you guys will be able to see the screen in front of you. So we made this frost skeleton. Let's see if I can get his character sheet up here. So we got a frost skeleton, and we got to kind of play around with this guy a little bit. We basically took a skeleton, normal 1/4 challenge rating, just kind of kept it simple, and we just took the standard stats of a skeleton, and we just modified it a bit. And that's what I want to do with these episodes and these shows is find some place to start, especially when we're building new monsters or creating new things. Find a system or a rule that's already in effect for Dungeons and Dragons already, or this could be for any RPG. Take a rule or a stat block or something that's already in effect, pull it over, and then just play around with it a little bit. See what you can do with it to make it new or give it a different flair. So we basically took a skeleton and we made it a frost skeleton. And in that, we had some really good conversation going on the chat about modifying this skeleton. Even we had one person say, hey, I could see this skeleton being like some type of boss or something, some type of more powerful creature than a challenge 1/4 challenge rating. So we could actually push the envelope and go even farther. But I never got a chance, during that episode, we were so invested in this frost skeleton, coming up with awesome ideas. I never got a chance to do some of the other ideas that we had going on. So at this point, what I wanted to do is I want to go ahead and try, let's make a new undead creature on the modifier tonight. And I called this one the Bloated. I don't know what you could call it. You could call it Bloated One or something. But I'm thinking of this large, bulbous, undead creature. Probably stands 7 to 8 foot tall, I'm thinking. And has kind of shorter arms that just can't sit down at its sides. They're just always like out or front. And it kind of wobbles back and forth with this huge belly sticking out. I can see like these green slime kind of just all over this thing as it's just hobbling towards you on these small stubby legs. And I got the idea from Diablo 3, actually. There's this creature in Diablo 3 that kind of represents this person, this undead creature that wobbles up to you. And after you attack it and defeat it, this is the part that intrigues me and the part that I really like, is after you defeat it, it explodes, and emerging from it are these worm-like creatures, maggot-like things, that come out and they start to just chase you down and just attack you abruptly. So I was thinking, how about let's create this undead creature that upon getting to 0 hit points, it actually bursts. And there's these creatures living inside of its huge belly, kind of like maggots or some type of thing, that pop out of it and then just start emerging or swarming you and just start attacking you like crazy. So that's the inspiration for our monster. I always love taking monsters from other elements, from other ideas, and trying to blend them and morph them and modify them in ways that we can use them for our own campaigns or for anything else. So, and feel free. Anytime you want to take something else and switch it up and change it, that's something that you can do. Alright, so we're going to jump right in. And we're going to open up this character sheet for the Bloated. And when we look at our character sheet, we can see that it's completely empty right now. I'm using Roll20's virtual tabletop. You can get started for free on Roll20.net. So just visit Roll20.net and sign up. It's free to sign up. There is options that you can pay to get more features, but it's absolutely free to sign up. And I was thinking what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with something that I already know has statistics. So I'm going to come into this and I'm going to start with something that's already in the rules, is already there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my compendium here for D&D 5th edition. I'm going to type in ogre, and you'll see that there is something called an ogre zombie right here, which, if you're thinking a large bulbous creature that's undead, an ogre zombie kind of fits that description right off the bat. So I'm going to go ahead and drag an ogre zombie over here, and you'll see it says accepting drop from compendium. So I'm going to let that go, and I've got an ogre zombie right in here under the bloated. So having this on my screen, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start to modify this a bit. Let's see what we could change. Some of it is going to stay the same because it kind of fits the description. So, for instance, we got Ogre Zombie. We're going to change that first. We're going to go ahead and change the title. I'm just going to call it The Bloated for now. I don't know. It's just for some reason I like that name. I don't know. So if I change it to The Bloated, that's going to change our Ogre Zombie to this screen. We got Large, Undead, Neutral, Evil. That's perfect. We can leave it just as it is. Large means it's going to actually take up 4 squares, 4 5-foot squares on a grid, whereas your mediums are only going to take up 1 of those 5-foot squares. So we're going to keep that large undead. Armor class, we've got 8 down here for the bloated, which I think is fair. He's a large undead creature. He's not going to be trying to dodge nimbly that much, I wouldn't think. Hit points, we're sitting right here at 85 hit points, and that seems pretty cool. I think I like that because the fact is this thing's eventually going to get beat, and it's going to explode, and these creatures are going to emerge from it. So we're going to keep it at that. If we feel like we want to change this later, absolutely we can. We can change it at any time. Speed, base speed, 30 feet. Seems fair for a large undead creature. Now we got the statistics, and I'm not really going to mess with those right this second. I may change them a little bit based on what we do down here at the bottom, but I'm just going to keep them the way they are. Of course, with the armor class of 8, its dexterity probably isn't going to be too... my friend Robert is on here asking if it's okay if he watches the stream tonight. Sometimes I do things for my home group. Sometimes I do things for my home group and I tell them they're not allowed to tune in because then they'll know everything that's happening. So I'm going to say, sure, you're fine. Come on, Robert. So there we go. I'm going to put no spoilers, or maybe. You never know when you might run into these crazies. So this will be awesome. So cool. So we've got this creature, the Bloated. I'm going to leave its stats the same. Damage immunities. Now, in D&D 5th edition, when I look at the zombie in the monster manual here, under zombie, we've got that the damage immunities right now are, they're basically immune to poison. For the ogre zombie. And that's interesting. I just noticed this. But in the... So, here's an interesting thing. When I look at ogre zombie, it says that its wisdom modifier is -2. And there isn't any saving throws in here. But the actual wisdom saving throw for an ogre zombie is actually +0 instead of a -2. So you actually don't use that actual version of the modifier on the ogre zombie. So we're going to have to change that. So what we do is we go in here, and where it says saves right here, well, actually it is in there. That's interesting. it has a 0 in there for saving throws. So make sure I put that in there. This 0 shows up a little bit darker on the screen. So that usually says it's there, but for some reason, there it is. For some reason it wasn't showing up. Interesting. I'll have to go double check that particular monster whenever I go check. So it definitely does have a saving throw. It says +0, which is like, why would you have +0? But right now, they have a -2 in their wisdom. So that's actually, +0 is a lot better than taking that 2 penalty when it comes to saving throws. So we want to make sure that we change that to where we can use it on our character sheet, which if you just click that, click wisdom +0, you make that saving throw with a 0 modifier. So damage immunities, we've got immune to poison, which all these zombies, that's their damage immunity, so that's fine. Undead creature, we're going to keep that the same. Condition immunities, okay, so it's immune to poison. That sounds fine. Senses, we got dark vision, 60 feet. Passive perception, 8. Yeah, I mean, perception is based on your wisdom. It's going to be a -2 from your normal 10. Perfectly fine. Dark vision, 60 feet. Yeah, a zombie's going to be able to see in the dark as they're lolking around. Makes sense. Then we've got languages. Understands common and giant, but can't speak. That's interesting. Understands common and giant, but can't speak. As a large undead, yeah, we'll leave that the same. And honestly, at this point, I'm just going to leave the challenge rating the same. Same thing I did in my other stream. I didn't really mess with the challenge ratings that much. I want to kind of keep these monsters about the same challenge rating. Now, this one's going to be a little bit harder because I am modifying it a bit to make it have some different abilities. So it may bump the challenge rating up to a 3, but I'm not sure. It kind of depends on, like we talked about before on a previous episode, challenge rating involves so many different things. It depends on how many creatures you have per encounter, how many encounters your players have encountered throughout the day, the environment. So much goes into challenge rating, and I'm just going to try to keep it as simple as I can. So we're just going to leave it at challenge rating 2 for right now, which is 450 experience points for this creature. As a zombie, this creature also has Undead Fortitude. That means if damage reduces the zombie to 0 hit points, it must make a Constitution saving throw with a DC of 5 plus the damage taken, unless the damage is radiant or from a critical hit. On a success, the zombie drops to 1 hit point instead. Now, I like this because we're going to add an ability to this zombie where it actually explodes. Okay? So this will delay that explosion a little bit more, perhaps giving the bloated, this undead creature, another attack round before that explosion happens, making it perhaps a little bit difficult to drop immediately. And then whenever this explosion happens and these things bust out of this thing, it could definitely change the overall feel of the encounter. As, oh, yeah, drop them to 0, then boom, all this other stuff happens. So you could take your players on a roller coaster ride with a creature like this, where they're not really sure what's happening and what's going to happen next, which is always a really exciting thing to do. It's fun. It's fun. It's fun. It's fun to do things like that. Ah, man. And I apologize, Twitch viewers. I'm not really sure exactly why. We were dropping so many frames tonight. I should have done a speed test on my internet. Hopefully this glitchiness isn't affecting the stream too much, and hopefully you guys can watch a little bit. Okay, so here's where we start to get exciting. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna change some things. First of all, under Undead Fortitude, we are gonna go ahead and add this explosion to this creature. So, how are we going to do that? Well, the first thing that's going to happen is it happens when the creature drops to 0 hit points. So, if our zombie fails this Undead Fortitude saving throw, that's what's going to trigger this burst. Because in Diablo 3, when you kill this monster, it explodes, and that explosion radiates out from the creature and does damage to any hero around it. And that's what I want this thing to do. I want it to explode, creating almost like this thunder wave, possibly, if you will. Maybe in a 10 or anything within 5 feet, maybe, would be good for a challenge rating 2. So we're going to call this, we'll just call it Death Burst. So this is its Death Burst ability. So we'll say if the bloated is reduced to 0 hit points and fails its undead fortitude saving throw, each creature, I'm trying to think on how I want to word this. Each creature within 5 feet of it takes so and so points force damage. We could do it that way, or bludgeoning damage, as all these bits and pieces of this creature just like slam into everything around it. I don't know if you're tuning in right now and you're on chat. What do you guys think? For some reason, I'm thinking like almost like a force, like just being pushed out in all angles. So, if the bloated is reduced to 0 hit points and fails its undead fortitude saving throw, it bursts. It explodes, sending a wave of force out from it explodes, sending out a wave of force. I'll just put sending out a wave of force. We'll just put sending out a wave of force. Then what we'll do is we'll put each creature within 5 feet of the bloated must make a dexterity saving throw or take, let's say 2d6. 2d6 force damage on a failed save. Or half as much on a successful one. So I think that's going to be averages out to 7 points of damage. 7 points of force damage on a failed save, or half as much on a successful one. I think that's pretty good for a challenge rating 2. On top of everything else that this creature is going to be able to do, and on top of the so if the bloated, let's see if we like the way that's worded. If the bloated is reduced to 0 hit points and fails its undead fortitude saving throw, it explodes, sending out a wave of force. Each creature within 5 feet. I'm just going to put each creature within 5 feet must make a dexterity saving throw or take 7 2d6 force damage on a failed save, or half as much on a successful one. So now we've got this undead creature based on an undead ogre. It comes up to you, undead ogre zombie, walks up to you, and you blast it down to 0 HP, and it fails its undead fortitude. It explodes in front of you, and anybody kind of surrounding that creature is going to have to make this saving throw or take this amount of damage. So that's its death burst ability that I've been just dying to add to this thing. So it's pretty exciting, which is awesome. Yeah, pumped up about that. All right, so now we've got this death burst. Here's what we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna add one more thing to this. We may add it into, well, we're gonna call it oh, I like that, Razanak. Yes! Having it explode could send out a wave of poison. Yeah, what Razanak's saying in the chat, since I don't have the chat hooked up live on the screen for everybody watching on YouTube. When bloated creatures generally are filled with gas and liquid, your creature is currently immune to poison, which could suggest it's filled with poison gas. Having it explode could send out a wave of poison gas and liquid acid. since it's about its digestive system. That is fantastic. Ah, yes, I like that. I like that much better than the force damage. Sending out explodes. Sending out. Actually, let's do this. Explodes, releasing a mixture of poisonous gas and liquid acid. I love it, Razanak. Look at that. The throat explodes, releasing a mixture of poisonous gas and liquid acid. Each creature within 5 feet must make... Well, see, this would change it a bit, because we're talking about gas and acid. Because gas is going to be more of a Constitution saving throw. Let's do this. Each creature, we'll say each creature within 5 feet just automatically takes the damage. Like you don't get a saving throw against the acid. Like it just happens. And we'll give you a saving throw against the poisonous gas or take additional poison damage and have the poison condition locked on you. That makes it a little bit more crazy if you are right next to this thing. What do you guys think? Razanak, what do you think on... Because I think you don't want to... You only want one saving throw to happen. Yeah, when you start adding multiple saving throws, it slows down combat. It gets tricky. Especially, too, if you have new players or people that are new to the system. So it works better, I think, to have one saving throw. And since we're taking poisonous gas is going to be a Constitution save. Anything against poison is usually Constitution related. Acid might be a dexterity saving throw to dodge out of the way. But perhaps if you're this close, man, you're just in it. You know? There's just no way out. This acid's going everywhere. Oh, I love it. Each creature within 5 feet. I'm going to say takes. Let's put the 2d6 there. Take 7, 2d6 acid damage. And must make a, we're going to change this dexterity to constitution. Constitution must make a constitution saving throw. We're going to say DC is going to equal... Let's make this moderate. I think a 13 would probably be fair. If you guys disagree or don't agree with that in chat, please let me know what you think. Make a Constitution saving throw DC 13 or take... You know what? Since they already took the 2d6 damage and it's only a challenge level 2, I'm going to say they don't take poison damage, but they are poisoned. Or become poisoned for the next minute. So let's see what we got here. Death Burst. If the bloated is reduced to 0 hit points and fails its undead fortitude saving throw, comma, it explodes, releasing a mixture of poisonous gas and liquid acid. Each creature within 5 feet takes 7 2d6 acid damage and must make a Constitution saving throw, DC of 13, or become poisoned for the next minute. Yeah, Razanak in chat says, I think anyone within 5 feet is too close to dodge a large creature exploding acid. Yes, yeah, exploding with acid. I agree, Razanak. I think that's a good idea. They should just take, they're going to take that damage. It's just going to happen. And they must make a Constitution saving throw, DC 13, or become poisoned for the next minute, which poison could be serious because you're talking about disadvantage on attacks. And that can be a doozy, especially depending on what the encounter, what the look of the encounter is. I mean, if you got a lot of different creatures in here, or a lot of different undead attacking all at once, it could make a big impact, especially if your main damage dealer, your fighter or something, gets poisoned by this creature blowing up. That could do a number for the party. If you take some of the people out of the game, your barbarians, your fighters, your rogues, those people that are up there, up front, even some clerics that want to front, kind of the heavy armored clerics, tanky clerics, it could definitely definitely hamper their rolls. All right, so we got Death Burst. We're gonna add one more thing to this. And we're going to call this Emerging Rot Crawlers. Okay. So what's going to happen is this undead creature explodes, releasing this poison and acid. Under its flesh, in this huge bulbous creature, there is basically these giant, nasty-looking maggots, if you will, that I have yet to create a character sheet for, because that was next on my list. I just put them as rot crawlers. So basically, they are eating a lot of the insides and living kind of like a virus and host kind of relationship with these rot crawlers living inside the belly of the bloated. And once they explode, this death burst happens, and then they release these creatures. Now, they're not going to be difficult creatures by any means. Maybe 1 or 2 hits will take them out. But it adds another layer, another element to your encounter to give it, you know, that, hey, surprise, here's these things. So they're not going to be really hard to beat, but they may be a pain in the butt when it comes to action economy, because multiple of these creatures are going to fly out of this thing. Adding them, giving them a couple attacks, maybe just, you know, peeling a little bit of HP around of some different players, and just being basically more aggravating than anything else, which I find exciting to do sometimes as well. So we got these emerging rot crawlers, Rottweilers, yeah. So it has dogs that come out of it. Funny. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna add this, and while we're doing so, you just want to just want to say, hey Razanak, thank you for joining me tonight. Appreciate you jumping on. And let's see. Immediately after the bloated, immediately after bloated, I guess, is, affected by the death burst. We're gonna say 1d4 plus 1 so I think that's gonna be like an average of 3. Rot crawlers emerge from the trying to figure out how to word this the best way. So immediately after the bloated is affected by the death burst, 1d4 plus 1 rot crawlers emerge in the next space, in the spaces closest merge in the spaces. I'm trying to figure out how to word this to where it says if the rock crawlers don't have a space to like emerge in, they emerge in the next available location, next available square. I think there's a way to word that in here, but I'm just gonna type it in just generally right now until we have something. So emerge in spaces located near where the bloated the bloated exploded. That's funny. Where the explosion occurred. Okay, so occurred has 2 R's. Got it. Those Rottweilers emerge in the spaces looking where the explosion occurred. Yeah, that's what I was thinking, Razanak. He said that you could have the rock crawlers flung out of the wave of acid as well. That's a good idea. We could do that to where, as in, they actually, the rock crawlers actually are appear within 5 foot of that space. So we could do it that way. Emerges in the spaces located within 5 feet of the explosion. We could word it that way. I like that wording better. So we could say instead of emerge, we could put rock crawlers are flung into the spaces located within 5 feet of the explosion or in the next available, I think that's how they say it, next available unoccupied space if there's a bunch of people around. So we got that. So that way you could, as a dungeon master or game master, you could kind of put them and place them into the squares that are available from that location with that kind of wording. Awesome. This is great. The rot crawlers, but the rot crawlers are hungry and looking to feed. We won't have to put that on there. I think people will get the idea that these things are going to basically surround whoever it is that's around them and attack. So we got these emerging rot crawlers. So we got death bursts that we added to this, and we got emerging rot crawlers, which we're gonna probably edit at some point. Yeah, this is going good. Thanks for the help too, Razanak. This is awesome. Modifying this. Basically what we did, if you missed the beginning of the episode, we took an ogre zombie and we're just kind of modifying it, giving it a little bit of extra flair, adding some intensity to it, making it a little bit different. And I like the way these things, you can do a little bit more, you know, basically all this is all an ogre zombie is a big zombie. So there's not really much you can do other than, all they did was flare up a zombie and made it an ogre zombie. They made it bigger. So basically I'm taking that big zombie and I'm just adding a little bit of extra juice to it. Some interesting things that happen when this happens, or giving it another narrative flair, you know, something that you could something go hand in hand with your narrative and your story a little bit to make it a little bit exciting, maybe a little bit challenging, and give it a little sprinkle of fear in your players, you know, that it's always good to have that edge, that fine line, that yeah, you could actually die in this game. I mean, that is one thing that's cool to have, especially in a narrative aspect, is there's got to be some type of thread of danger underneath, sprinkled underneath. So I think that these two things actually add to that that narrative. So let's keep these how they are for right now. We could always go back and we could change them or reword them. That's the cool thing about this, is we're just kind of working with it right now. And you could actually test this in a game and see how it goes and say, oh man, well that's way too much acid damage. We're going to have to drop that to 1d6. Or that DC is way too low. We need to bump it up. You can always do things like that. Or poison for the next minute. Nah, it should be an hour. You know, you could always come back and change something that you do and work on. That's what playtesting is good for. Just test these things out. Make sure they work right. For actions, we're going to get rid of the Morning Star. This thing doesn't carry any weapons. This thing is just this massive bulbous thing from Diablo 3 that just trucks around, and when it gets close to you, it's just going to start slapping you. It's just going to start raking you. Basically what it's doing is it wants to get close to you, so that way these things happen. Okay, it's a mass of hit points. It's going to be able to do a little bit of damage, and then boom, here comes all these other things. Man, I mean, basically what this thing's not going to have any ranged attacks whatsoever. It's going to be that kind of that just rushes up once they get close. Hey, we could even add in, if we wanted to, the orcs have this special feature called aggressive, which means if an orc sees a hostile creature, if an orc sees a hostile creature, it can use its bonus action to take its movement again towards that creature. So you could do a double movement as a movement bonus, and then if it's right within range, right there at the end of that turn, it can then make its attack. So since the purpose of this thing is to get close and to do damage from a close range, we might want to give it that feature. That'll add even another sense of fear into your players, as this thing is this big massive thing, and then it sees you and then it's up in your grill like almost immediately. That could be something that we could even think about doing. I'm not going to add that just yet because honestly we've only got about 10 minutes left, and I don't want to run out of time, but we might be able to add that. I'm just going to put it down here so I don't forget, but we could call this aggressive. And I'm going to put Sea Orc stats. I'm just going to put that right there, ... That way I remember to do that later, because I think that would be kind of cool, because the whole point of this creature is to get close to you. It wants to get close to you. It's going to do a bunch of massive damage with its slaps, its slam attacks. And then when it explodes and releases these rock crawlers, that's going to be basically your step 1 is getting them close. Step 2 is it bursts. And step 3, emerging the rock crawlers. So that's what we got so far. It's looking really good. I like this. We've definitely juiced this this undead creature up. So when we go to Morningstar, we're going to change it. We're just going to call this Slam, because basically it's going to be just like slamming down on you with these big slaps, basically. And regular zombies, that's what they do. That's their main weapon is their slam attack. So that is a melee attack. It is within 5 feet, which seems accurate because it wants to get close. We've got to hit is a +6, which would be the 4 plus proficiency bonus. That seems right. Yes, that goes well with the other zombie attacks. On a hit, it does 2d8. Let's see what this... zombies are only a d6. So why don't we do this? So large creatures, automatically you double the dice for damage. We're going to make it 2d6 plus 4, which is the strength modifier, so that's what we want. 2d6 plus 4. So we took the dice down a little bit because he's not using a weapon. He's only using his hands. So we got 1 target. Bludgeoning damage. And description show. That seems fine. So we're just going to keep it a simple slam attack. It just comes up to you and it does, if it hits you, it does an average of 11 points of damage, bludgeoning damage, per round. And these creatures, they don't even, the ogre zombie, challenge rating 2 does not have multi-attack, so it doesn't make 2 attacks during its round. So we've got that. Cool. Yeah. I'm really digging this. This is neat. I have a feeling I'm going to have to try this monster at some point. That's really neat. I like where this is going. Cool. So what I'm also going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do this orc thing right now. So I got my orc stats right here. Actually, I might be able to go into my... I could find my orc character sheet. I may not have it. Let's type in orc right here. Let's see. Oh yeah, sweet. So we got an orc. Let's open its character sheet. Traits, here it is. Aggressive. As a bonus action, the orc can move up to its speed toward a hostile creature that it can see. I like that. I'm going to take that and I'm going to copy it. I'm going to use that. I'm going to close this character sheet and we're going to add this to our... So paste. As a bonus action, the bloated. Change it to the bloated. Can move up to its speed toward a hostile creature that it can see. So we've got this aggressive nature going on too. Yeah. I'm gonna have to test this because I have a feeling this number, even though we kept a lot of this all the same from an ogre zombie, I'm not sure. This may change things a bit that we added these 3 things. This could definitely change it to possibly... I'd have to double check with a challenge rating of 3 to see what the difference would be. It could change things. Possibly not. I'm not 100% sure. I know we did take a little bit of beef away from its regular action, the slam, by taking it down to a D6 instead of a D8. That's a good question, Razanak. I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to look that one up. He says, can creatures grapple an opponent with one hand if their opponents are a size smaller than them? That is a good question. I wonder if I can find that in a compendium real fast. Let's see if it says anything about grappling. Grapple. Condition to grapple. Feats. Grappler. Grapple rules for monsters. Wonder what that says. Many monsters have special attacks that allow them to quickly grapple prey. When a monster hits with such an attack, it doesn't need to make an additional ability check to determine... Oh, this is for if you make an attack and it says the creature is automatically grappled afterwards. A creature grappled by a monster can use its action to try to escape. To do so, it must succeed on a strength, athletics, or dexterity acrobatics check against the escape DC and the monster's stat block. That doesn't really answer your question, Razanak, but I think it does. That's a good point, Razanak. I like that idea as well. Razanak says in chat, that might make them have the ability to hold a player and smack them with its less powerful attack while everyone else tries to free them. Kind of basically baiting everybody in close. Hey, we got to save our friend. He's being grappled and smacked over here. He can't get loose. We need to get in close. We need to beat this guy down. And then, boom, he explodes. Acid, gas, rot crawlers, the whole 9 yards. That could be a possibility. I'm liking where this is going. That's something we're definitely gonna have to, definitely gonna have to look into the grappling rules, Razanak, and I will figure that out for next time, and we'll see if we can actually hook that one up. It's about 7:57, so it's about time for me to head on out for the evening. Don't forget, everybody, we have Storm King's Thunder episode 45 coming up tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern right here at Proficiency Bonus. We also have, on Monday nights, we have Tomb of Annihilation with Dungeon Master Matthew. And pretty soon in September, we're going to be running Dragon Heist, Waterdeep Dragon Heist with Dungeon Master JJ on Wednesday nights starting at 8 p.m. Eastern. So that's going to be happening really soon. We're also going to have a really big announcement tomorrow night for Storm King's Thunder, so make sure you tune in right at the beginning of the episode to check that out. Don't forget, tonight we've got Mystic Hour, which is on a vodcast, repeating last week's episode of Women in D&D. Some really good conversation happened during that episode, so you're not going to want to miss that. Talking about just what it is to be a woman and be playing a game that's typically something that, you know, most guys do. So it's really cool to listen to the female, the women's perspectives on things. So make sure you guys tune into that. Check it out. Next week she's going to be live with some cool, I think she's doing kind of like a Japanese pop music kind of episode where she talks to some fans of some Japanese artists and pop stars. So that's going to be awesome. You want to check that out. It's going to be something totally different for our channel. Other than that, I don't really have anything left for tonight's episode, but tune in next week. We're going to work on probably the Rot Crawler and maybe do a little bit of editing on the Bloated here. We'll have to see as we continue to reskin some Undead right here on Proficiency Bonus. So thank you guys so much for tuning in tonight. Once again, my name is Michael. Make sure you hit that follow button if you haven't already done that. Subscribe to the channel on YouTube as well. And until then, everybody, don't forget, make sure you add that proficiency bonus. I'll see you guys next time. Have a great night.